originally from Detroit. Hey, what up, though, to all our listeners. And born and raised there. And I went into the military very early in life. I turned 18 in South Carolina, Fort Jackson. And from there, did my life, my about 5 or 6 years in the military. Unfortunately, I suffered from military sexual trauma, which is MST, at an early age, and that put me in a space of having mental issues. But I did not know that I had issues. So we'll fast forward to that as we go through life. After the military, got into the finance industry and did that for over 20 years, from being a treasury analyst to a teller at a bank, and ending up in working with companies like Ernst & Young and other companies like that. So I always loved finance, and being in the military and being an athlete, swimming, tennis, I've always loved fitness. So fitness and finance have always been my favorite two things, right? Period. Finance is what paid the bills, and fitness was just literally, I love it. People will say, you love fitness? Yeah, I do love fitness. I love fitness because it's very important, because all of us will need to, we got hearts, we got blood, we need to take care of ourselves. So I always love that. And so over the years, I've always stopped with my education, thinking that I wanted to be a certified financial planner and all this other good stuff. But while I was in the finance industry, I really worked with all of this stuff. I didn't necessarily need a certification because I worked with people who did all of these things. And it really gave me insight to where I wanted to be in the finance industry. So I got like a banking and finance degree and so forth, but I really went back to school to get my bachelor's of science in exercise science, and did not realize that it's truly the study of how exercise impacts your body. Think about that. Wow. The study of how exercise impacts the impact of exercise on your body, and that's very important. And people don't think about that. You just think about, oh, I'm gonna run, lift weights, and then people can have an event. You jump up and go exercise, and you can have an event, not knowing that you really need to get cleared to do that. And that's what made me think about starting my own business, Journey Within. So I started my business. I walked away from corporate America in 2018, and I started my own health and wellness business in 2021. Well, that's, that whole COVID area, right? Well, Mr. George Floyd was assassinated for all of us to see. Okay, and I was shooketh. Okay, I literally, the only other time that really hurt me was when 9/11 happened. I was still Ernst & Young, Bank of America Plaza at that time, and I literally was at home and was like, oh my God, right. 9/11, you see all this stuff happening and you freaking out because you still got friends in the military and da-da-da-da. Fast forward, when I saw what happened to Mr. Lamar Arbery, I felt helpless, and I said, Lord God, I know I got to do something. So I took to the streets, peaceful protest, of course, and just making sure that our voices were heard. No one should die at the hands of just trying, like, dude, if he did anything wrong and he got arrested, he should be able to live to have his day in trial. That never happened. Right. After protesting, that still stayed in me. I was convicted to do something. So I launched my business in 2021, and I dissolved it as far as like no activity. I couldn't even get it out the door because I started to run for office. Okay. So I ran for Snellville City Council in 2021, and I met the lovely lady, Karen Scott Green, my co-host. She was running for Gwinnett County Superior Court Judge. Unfortunately, we did not unseat our incumbent opponents. However, it's very funny. We tapped into the same number of citizens relatively to our districts. So she reached the same percentage countywide as I did citywide.
So let me ask you this: how are we tying this all in with the George Floyd and Ahmaud Arbery and everything? Because we didn't elevate and gone from one thing to the next.
That's how you know what? You got to bring me in. I'll tell you how I brought it in.
So I'm just trying to figure out how do we bring all this together so we know what direction we're going.
All right, not a problem, because I was saying the George Floyd and Ahmaud Arbery is how I ended up being in this space of public service, and how me being in the space of public service, of me fighting for rights, socioeconomic justice, and me building a name, and why you actually asked me here. You asked me here because your
Go ahead.
Counterpart, we ran into each other at an event. And the reason that I was in the event is all of the work that I've done from 2021 publicly forward to present. And the reason that I was giving you some background about who I am, I'm a community leader who fights for justice. And that all started and pivoted for me when I saw Mr. Lamar Arbery and Mr. Floyd primarily assassinated for all of us to see. I can't say it any other way.
Right.
And that took me from Journey Within, my business, which I have, to public service. Okay. And that's why I'm trying to tell you that those actions in society made me step into who I am. And a lot of times we don't know why our personal stories are why we go forward and do the things that we do, what has happened in our life that makes us fight for other people.
So do you believe that life is predestined of the journey that and the pathway that you take in life? Do you believe that that's predestined, like you are called to do what you're doing?
Yes. I feel like a lot of the things that has happened to me in my life, and I just made a post about this, I was just saying how I had to give thanks to God for me. I believe in God. And I've been through so much. I lost my parents before I was 5. I was raped before I was 20. And I'm living my life with untreated trauma for decades. Okay? I walked away from corporate America because of trauma, not knowing all of this, right? And so I did not realize that the things that God brought me through, suicidal ideations and dealing with untreated trauma, has helped me be in a place where I can help people talk about mental health. I can talk to people about emotional eating, depression, anxiety. Okay? These are things that right now, people are really saying it, and it's almost like a catchphrase. But for me, it's reality.
Yeah, so my next question would be, do you think that a lot of people deal with mental health issues differently, or do you think that people deal with mental health issues in the arena that put them in those mental health issues? Like you say, with the trauma of being raped, the trauma of physical or mental abuse. Mm-hmm. Do you think that those different traumas are different when you're dealing with mental health? Absolutely. So the way in which each individual handles their trauma is different, okay? But the therapists who have gone through decades of education, the psychologists, the psychiatrists, and the entire team, they have the experience and expertise and knowledge to help you find the best treatment program for you. It is not cookie cutter. However, there are overlapping similarities. Let's just call it that. It's like, let's just pick diabetes. We know diabetes has certain indicators, okay? Schizophrenia has certain indicators. Depression has certain indicators. Suicidal ideations have certain indicators. But I'm an advocate to make sure we start identifying what those indicators look like. And that first starts with a conversation. I've had friends close to me attempt suicide. I have family close to me, my blood, attempt suicide. I've had suicidal ideations. Right. And I know people who have committed suicide, family, friends. Right. Okay? So this is something serious. So I don't speak about it just as a coin phrase, and I'm tying in all of this because the things that I do is greater than me. So it's not just one thing. God has aligned so many things in my life that I had no idea I will be in a position where I can tell my story to give light to someone else so that they can share their story. I never talked about it. I'm about to get teary-eyed. My co-host called me a waterhead because I'm always crying, but it's a lot of anxiety and so forth. But I strongly disliked, I don't like saying the H word, I strongly disliked the things that happened to me, the cards that I was dealt. You know how you feel like, oh, okay, I done had a bad hand in life, right? And the way I when I have conversation with people, mm-hmm.
And sometimes we have to come to the realization it's almost like, I guess us as black people understand the spades. You have to play with the hand you dealt.
You got to play with the hand you dealt.
You know, like you can go into different regions, you can go different places, and people play spades differently. Mm-hmm. People can say the deuce is not wow. Some people say the deuce of spades. Some people say the two of diamond. You know, some people say if you don't have no spades, you can throw your hand in. Well, you know, where I come from, you know, no matter what you play, whatever your hand is, you deal with the hand that's played to you.
Yep.
And it helps. I think that's a good thing because it helps you understand life ain't fair.
But get this though, you can say that now as an adult, seasoned. You look like you're about 29. You know, you can say that, but when you young,
you don't know,
and you don't have no idea. You like, why is this happening to me? What am I doing wrong? I'm doing everything right. Dude, I came out the gate, I ain't have my parents. And then you got the nerve to have kids who disrespect their parents every single day, who breaking their back to make sure that you got food, a roof, health insurance. Not to mention if you privileged to get extracurricular activities. Yo, you ain't got to play basketball, football, soccer, hockey. Right. You understand? And so for me, when I'm sitting here volunteering my time to mentor and pour into our young kids, because I am a registered mentor with Gwinnett County Public Schools, and I'm a mentor or a board member of Gwinnett Chat Outreach, which is a nonprofit that mentors young people from 13 to 18 years of age. God connected. So when you ask me how does all this time together, brother, when that happened, God took me from trying to start my business, right? God took me from utilizing my mental health journey, because it took me double digits to talk about it. So I had been going to therapy like 2015, 14, something like that. Right. So we all the way up to 21. So I'm getting stronger. I'm becoming more resilient. I'm getting the tools. And I'm having a village around me. Because we could talk about black therapy too. Let's make sure we tap into that. Yes. Okay? Because a lot of the therapy I was getting, it was from people who were not culturally competent or culturally humble. So the therapy wasn't working. And not to say that it does not work, people. Don't get me saying. I'm saying that you do need to work at getting a therapist that can relate to you.
Right.
Not coddle your condition. You still want somebody that's going to keep it real with you, but you need somebody to be able to understand it, like you just talked about spades. You know, some other people play gin rummy. I don't know how to play that game.
So let me ask you this then. This question is, when people have mental health trauma or mental health issues, do you think that in seeking help or trying to deal with your mental health issues, do you think that's a lifetime journey, or do you think that eventually you can deal with whatever your issues were or whatever trauma you dealt with in your life, you can eventually jump that hurdle?
So I'm a huge advocate for mental health support. Huge. So I know people that used to do drugs. I mean, come on. I know people. I'm from Detroit. I know people that was crackheads and all that other stuff. No disrespect, but that's just what it was, right? I know the dope man, all of that, okay? Some people said they quit drugs cold turkey. I'm not going to challenge them on that. If that's their truth, that's their truth. I will say that there are some people who need support, and there are other people who need intensive therapy. You just got to find what works for you. That's what I'm saying. It is not a cookie cutter. But if you acknowledge that something's not right, go with that and seek out the help you need. And our National Alliance of Mental Illness is NAMI, National Alliance of Mental Illness. Go to the website, Google it. You put in your zip code. They're nationwide. They may be global, but I know they're in the nation of the United States. And you put in your zip code, you can find a location near you. You even can become an ambassador to help other people. This is serious. On our podcast, Conversations with Karen and Kat, we had young people from a high school students. They created a nonprofit for mental health. Go check it out on one of our episodes. These young people are so much smarter and so in tune. We got to give them credit. You know, I had another person on our show talking about they was doing something. 1 in 4 kids make a crime or do something bad or whatever. And one of the young people said, "What about the other 3?" Oh, hello. So these young kids are thinking, and they are in the tune. This one lady said she knew she was suffering depression from elementary school.
Well, I always say to people, statistics is a dangerous thing, something that you really have to really pay attention to. Because I always explain this to people. If you have 100 people, and they say 20% of people are doing this, well, the other 80% doing good.
That's right.
But the way we function in this country, we put our emphasis on the 20% instead of the 80%.
Well, you got to remember when you're looking at stats, who's giving the stats and what they're trying to achieve.
Right.
And so
but I'm saying, even in giving the stats, we have to get to a place that we focus on the more than the less.
But that's my point, brother. The person that's giving you the stats wants you to focus on the negative. And I'll bring this around to Journey Within. One of the things I do and I focus on heavily, not just in Journey Within, just life period, right? You want to sit up here and you have these things that say heart health or toxic. Toxic. You got to detox your body. This is my personal opinion. Okay. Detox your body. When you get a particular age, you got to have the GI, you got to get the colon cleaned out to get the test, right? When you do that, I've had it. They give you this solution that's like sodium whatever or some Gatorade whatever to clean you out.
Right.
Does it say we going to detox you?
Well, that's what they call it.
No, the doctors don't call it
Well,
that.
some doctors I've been to, that's what they call it, a detox.
They are cleaning out your colon. That's what they're doing.
Right, but I'm saying your question was some doctors that I've been to call it a detox.
Okay.
Now, what other doctors may call it may be something different.
Right.
Because just like we're sitting here talking, everybody deals with something differently. Everybody present things to you differently.
Correct. And my point is, it is a sense of fear. Like you just said, 20% bad, but what about the other 80%? When they say detox, it's a sense of urgency. Are you drinking bleach? No. What's toxic that you're putting in your body?
Well, if you want to be honest about it, every day you put something in your mouth is toxic.
Well, if you're talking about the chemicals, now let's talk about the chemicals.
Because
right?
everything that you eat, if you took and read the label, I mean, like a lot of times I know that me and my wife have been to the grocery store. We pick up something, and I say, read the label. And half of the stuff you can't even pronounce. So to me, you shouldn't be putting that in your body. I can't even pronounce what's in that ingredient.
And so I love that conversation because that's something that I teach people in my Journey Within. Teach you how to read labels. Teach you how to understand what they're saying. And even though I want to caution people, because I appreciate what you said when you hear the words, you don't know how to speak it, I ain't going to eat it, you can't pronounce it. I get that. But some of the words, like, and I can't think of any right now, but the medical term of some of the things that's like lemon may be a big word, but it really is lemon. Or vitamin E really is this real legal medical term. So let's not get too caught up in because you can't pronounce it, it don't make that it's not good. It just means that might be the medical scientific term for something. So let's be clear on that. And once you become educated on it, now you know what you're looking at. It's just like with the black hair thing. We rocking our locks and all this other stuff, and all the chemicals they put in our hair. Right? But when you actually look at what vitamin E is, what rosemary or thyme and all those, the real scientific name for it, I mean, like reefer is cannabis, right? But what is something else too to the word. But we call it reefer, right?
Well, they call it marijuana and they
right.
call it whatever.
Yeah,
but
my
the
medical
is,
term.
I guess the point, what I'm saying is when you pick up the ingredients and the whole list is
Correct.
like that, that's a problem.
I agree with
That's
you.
a problem.
But what I'm also saying is, just because it's something you can't pronounce, don't necessarily mean it's not that.
And I agree with you. I agree with you on that too. But if the list is that long, even though they may use the scientific name for, like you say, if it's a lemon, this is something.
Yeah.
But I'm saying all the rest of that stuff, everything ain't gonna have a scientific name.
You ain't gonna get no argument from me because when you get away from natural. Right? Because natural only have one ingredient, right? It has, if I'm eating almonds, it should just say almonds. It shouldn't say almond extract, almond something this and sugar and all this other stuff. I get it, right? And you know all the names for sugar?
Yes.
Right?
Stevia or what is that? What is that? It starts with an F.
I don't know. You got stevia, fructose, high
fructose. That's what I'm talking about.
So any of the words with OSC,
Splendor,
any of the words with toast at the end, that's going to be a sugar. Right. And so that's why you got to pay attention to all that, because glucose, your body needs glucose. Your brain functions off of glucose. So we can get into all of that too, but I love the fact that you said it's all about knowing when you go to the store with your wife, you got to read. It's all about the individual reading, taking the time to educate yourself, not only on your body, but on your mind and your spirit. And that's where we have to improve and encourage people to do so many things. Take ownership. Don't wait on somebody else to tell you in order for you to go to the doctor, you got to detox. Right? Because even with exercise, before someone starts with one of my programs, we go through a consultation. I've actually had somebody fill out the consultation. Now, maybe other trainers don't do this, but what I do is I'm going to ask you some health things, and it's going to be confidential between me and you, but do you have diabetes, or do you have any metabolic condition, asthma or something like that, right? And that's important because you have to cater a routine to accommodate existing conditions. Most people don't do that. You just jump on a program and go.
And because I used to do personal training.
Yeah.
So I understand. And
did
my
you
wife
do consultations?
would tell you. Oh, yeah. Matter of fact, my wife would tell you when I did personal, I wouldn't train anybody like, oh, I'm trying to lose weight to get in this wedding dress, or I'm trying to lose weight. I don't, because I wanted always for it to be a lifestyle. I want to create you a lifestyle. I don't want you to, oh, I'm going to lose 15 pounds so I can get in this dress.
Right.
Then after you get in the dress, then you bend over, then what? You go back to your bad habits.
And that's why you get so many surgeons making a killing, right, on cosmetic surgery. Because now they can get you to do all this other stuff to your body, but you haven't changed your mind. So after you've had this surgery, you want to go out and eat like you normally have. But you done got the band around your stomach, and you can't eat that much because now your stomach, from being the original size, is smaller.
Right.
But your eating habits haven't changed. You have to change your lifestyle.
Well, that's because a lot of people don't like accountability.
Ding, 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 ding. You get a car. But, with that, y'all, I'm about to change thought. When you said the accountability, that threw me off, because that's important, but I was about to say something else and I just lost it.
You were talking about the band. Their stomach is small.
Yes. And so when a person gets surgery, thank you for bringing me back. When a person has surgery, you need to find out where they are. And a lot of people, when you go have surgery, so listen, family, go talk to a nutritionist and a health coach and a wellness coach before you go and do a surgery. Because if you're not ready to change your lifestyle to accommodate what happens after, you're only going to be giving money away. And shoot, we both can receive some donations to our podcast, right? Think about it, people.
Because I'm a firm believer in accountability. I'm a firm believer in that you have to be accountable mentally, physically, and financially. You have to be, if you don't have any accountability, then when you wonder why you're in financial ruins, because you don't have any accountability to it. Then whether you're dealing with some mental health issues and you don't go seek that help, you don't have any accountability to it. I always say this, in order for change to come, you have to admit what you are.
You can't change what you don't acknowledge.
If you are a drug addict and you go to one of those clinics to try to help you cleanse from drugs, you have to admit you're a drug addict. If you're an alcoholic, you have to admit you're an alcoholic. But the biggest thing is, even coming to Christ, even coming to Jesus, you got to admit you're a sinner in order for change to happen. So if you cannot admit to what you are, the likelihood of change happening is not going to happen.
You cannot change what you do not acknowledge. And this is why I named my business Journey Within, because every journey starts from within, period. Right. You have the power. Don't let anybody tell you you don't. You have the power to make the choice. It's a fork in the road. I can continue to eat, which I am going to sneak on these a little later.
Right.
You can continue to eat unhealthy and think it's not going to catch up with you, but it will. Right. And it's your choice to do that, whether it's mental, physical, abuse of alcohol, drugs, and other things, shopaholic. I mean, there are so many things that people do.
Right.
You know, but we have to take accountability of that and stop laying it in somebody else's lap to do that. Mm-hmm. Same thing with our economy. You just said finances. So, well, before I say that, one of the things I do with Journey Within, I think it's like 12 pillars that we all of will of life, right? So our relationship with finance, with self, with our jobs, right? With emotions. So we address all of that, because a person that might be overeating or sedentary and not wanting to do anything, it could be direct alignment with something else.
Right.
So what I do is I don't just say push-ups, sit-ups, run, right? Do a HIIT routine. No, I want to figure out what is it that is making you do the things that you do. And
go ahead. And health-wise, I think that one of the things we have to realize, even when I did personal training and things like that, you have to do things in moderation.
Yeah.
You can't get up in the morning, eat bacon, go lunchtime, eat a McDonald's burger, come home and eat a steak. You give your body no time to cleanse. You give no body no time to break that down. So I always found that I would encourage you to stop eating it, but I'm not going to stop you. And if you can't stop, I'm going to say, well, let's get on the moderation program, because if that moderation program kick in, I know eventually you're going to stop.
Yeah. And I'm real big on education. Like what we were saying, you know, with what the meanings of the words are and so forth. I'm all about empowering people, just like what we do on our podcast. We inform, inspire, and empower, just like what y'all doing. You have real conversations and get people to think about it. You need to think about what's going on, and you have the power to add to it, add to the conversation. And so what I like to do is empower clients or anyone abroad. Look at what you're doing and ask yourself, are you happy?
Right.
And if you're not happy, are you not happy enough to do something about it?
Well, you know what I say? I say eliminate happy and create joy, because happiness only derives from the word of happen. So you're only happy because what's happening.
Facts.
So
you see what I'm saying? So however you want to wrap it up and pull it out there, it comes back to who?
Yeah, you got to create joy in your life.
What Michael Jackson say, the man in the mirror?
Yeah.
That's it. You have to do that. And then once you find out where your spot is, what you need, it's a ton of resources out there for you. You could come to our podcast, come here, listen to all the stuff y'all drop. Y'all drop a ton of knowledge, right? We drop a ton of knowledge. It's a bunch of nonprofits and organizations. And if you need mental health, NAMI, National Alliance of Mental Illness, dial 988. That's suicide prevention now. Instead of 911, they have a line designated for suicide and mental health crises, 988. Not only can you call the number, you can text. Go to the website. They have a number that you can text. I did it. I'm not talking about stuff I haven't done. And I'm a vet. You a vet. I don't have nobody do, child. I don't have anybody do anything that I haven't done or can't do. Period. And that's just how I roll. So I'm asking people to do these things. I've tried it. I've used the chat, and it's very convenient because you don't have to worry about talking to anybody and all this other stuff. So that's available to individuals.
Well, I think that one thing is, and I've encouraged people to seek therapy, because I think therapy is a good thing. I know we, as the black culture, the first thing we think if somebody said go seek therapy or something. I ain't crazy.
I ain't crazy.
No, it's not about being. Right. It's not about being crazy. It's about that I'm going to share with somebody that's non-biased about the emotional feelings that I'm feeling, and then they may give me some insight how I should approach it. And once you learn that, then you start having that accountability I talk about to yourself. And
you always had that account. And when you start doing that, the other reason too, may I add, is that generational curse. That when one generation teaches another generation and teaches another generation something that's unhealthy, right? And you can't change what you don't acknowledge. So if you're in a community of people for generations who have had untreated trauma for decades, and it's not because they didn't need it or maybe that they didn't want it, it's because it wasn't available.
Right.
Keep that in mind. So you have a whole demographic of people who need assistance, and when you go to doctors that may not look like you, they're unaware of how to deal with you. I mean, look at all the experiments that have been done on black people. If we could just stick to black people, because I'm sure it's other things for other demographics, but I'll just stick on black. I'm an African American woman, so I'm going to talk about that specifically. And when you have that, and I'm a victim of that, I've talked to elders in the community who have said how just in labor and delivery, how they were treated disrespectfully by non-black doctors.
You know, and not to cut you off, when you said that.
But you did. Go ahead.
Because I didn't want to lose my train of thought right then when you said that, that it's just like the history of what we've been through as black people. And sometimes it's so hard to get this younger generation to understand that, you know, the trauma we've been through, the ups and downs, the battles, understanding that, like you said, those elders you talk to, they fought for us to get to this place in life. And now you have a sense of disrespect for it. I mean, like, you know, you run around here cussing your elders out and you don't listen to your mama and daddy or whatever. And it just, when you said that, that just struck me, and I didn't want to lose my train of thought, because we have to somehow, matter of fact, I have this young man that I cut his hair, very bright young man. I mean, I always uplift him. I said, "You're gonna be the next president."
I know, that's right.
He's really a bright young man. And what
Send him my way. I need him on my campaign.
What was shocking to me, his family gave him a graduation party, and I went.
Oh,
okay. I gave him a card, but I signed my name and my wife's name in cursive. Right. He read the card, and when it got to the cursive writing, he couldn't even read. He was like. And, you know, it was so sad. So, like, I was sitting beside one of his aunts and stuff like that. I said, this is why they got to put cursive writing back in school. She said, no, they don't teach that no more. I said, let me tell you why they need to put cursive writing back in school. You lose history. Yeah. You take him, if he couldn't read my cursive writing, take him down to King Center. All of Martin Luther King speeches was in cursive. So he won't be able to read the history. You know, whether we can go back in history of the things that was written. You can't read it.
And moreover, if I can add, let's stop waiting on other people to educate our children.
Right.
You want people who, and this is just the mindset, if you have a group of people who don't like black people, why you gonna keep going to that group of people to give you education about you?
We do it to ourselves.
We have way too many ancestors that's alive and rocking right now, brother. We had the first black superintendent for the state of Georgia on our podcast. You know, you still have the wonderful woman who, correct me, fact check me, the wonderful woman, I can't think of her name, who came up with Juneteenth, who fought for Juneteenth. Isn't she still alive? Dude, we have all of these ancestors. I had the honor to meet Miss Coretta Scott King.
Well, like you say, it's a brainwash job. If you feed into the brainwash job, that's why you're not going to. I had a young man, I was telling him about martial law. I was telling him about 1968 when the riots, when Martin Luther King got killed and everything. You know what this guy actually told me? That ain't what happened. I said, well, I lived in that era. I seen martial law. I smelt martial law. I touched martial law. In 1968, I was 12 years old. Wow. I knew.
Yep.
So you're going to sit up here and debate me about what a book say to something I experienced 100% live? But that's the mindset they have.
Well, that's the generation that's being taught under an umbrella who wants to erase a whole race of people. But this isn't the first time this mindset of erasing history has happened. We're not the first group of people that their languages and their history. Look at our brothers and sisters from the Indian individuals, from that whole culture, right? You know, you have way too many historical factors, but you're not going to erase us. And you know why? Because we have to take ownership of that. I encourage everyone in the sound of my voice, sign up and volunteer. When is the last time you volunteered with our young folks? Why you got to look outward when all of the resources are here with you? Step up and volunteer or donate to organizations that's doing it. Like I said, Gwinnett Chat Outreach, mentor young people from 13 to 18. Black Education Station. It's a YouTube channel by Black content creators, old and young. They have little content creators, young people. You know, you want to learn about your own, go out there and get it. We fighting schools to get that's trying to get rid of African American studies. Come on now.
What is the young lady we had in here about the thing she do with
Entrepreneur University?
What is it called though? It was
the Pink House.
Pink House. You ever heard of the Pink House? Well, it's this young lady we had on the show. She runs this place is called a Pink House. She teaches young people how to be entrepreneurs, and it's right down there in Snellville. It's called the Pink House. And she's actually talked about she lived in this house, she did everything in this house, and she eventually bought the house. And after she bought it, she turned it into this, and she calls it the Pink House.
I'm gonna have to check it out and see.
Yeah,
It's
so
a Pink House in Snellville. Is it?
It's in Snellville.
Okay,
we had her on our show,
I'm gonna look
and
it up.
she talks about it. But anyway, we had to.
That's important.
Yeah,
that's important, and that's what I'm saying. You know, we got to step up. We can't wait for anybody else to do it. That's all I'm saying. You can't change what you don't acknowledge. You're not by yourself. Don't be afraid to step up and say, I need help. And sometimes you don't even know what you need help for. And that's okay too.
right.
You know, so thank you for allowing me to be here. You know, are you about to wrap it up and tell me to get out of here?
No, you don't. As they say, you don't have to leave, but you're going to get the hell out of here. No.
I don't care where you go, but you got to get the heck out of here.
No, but it was nice having conversation with you.
Yes.
You know, sometimes it sounds like a rush or whatever, but we just try to inform, you know, give people information. You know, like I said, our platform is called People Think About It. It's a non-biased platform. You can come on here and speak your mind. Nothing scripted. Yeah. But it's the thing is how I came up with that name is basically I just want people to think.
That's it.
A lot of people just don't think.
That's right.
So, you know, that's why the word think is so big on that,
right.
because I want people to think about it, because you may have your version, I have my version, she might have her version, but all I'm doing is say, hey, think for yourself.
Critical thinking.
And once you think for yourself, you make your decision.
That's right.
And then you have to live with the decision you made.
Live what the old folks say. You sleep in the bed you made.
Yeah.
Okay. And so that's it. And so make sure you reach out to all these resources so when you think, you will have facts in front of you.
Right.
You know?
So we just want to thank you for coming out to People Think About It. Is there anything you want to plug before we leave our podcast today? Any information you want to share with people?
Yeah, just have everybody please follow us on Conversations with Karen and Kat. You can go to KarenandKat.com, and that's Karen with a K and Kat with a C, KarenandKat.com. And if you wanted to learn more about me and personally, go to electkat.com. And I would love any support and would love to talk more about our podcast.
We'll have you back.
That's what I was about to say. Yeah. Bring my co-host, honey.
Yeah,
we'll have it on there, right?
We definitely will.
So, yeah. Thank you so very much.
All right. We thank you for coming out.
You have been listening to People Think About It. Be sure to subscribe to the show and share it with your friends so that you never miss an episode. A new episode drops every Wednesday at 8 p.m. Thank you for listening.